quarantining the contacts. But Georgia, in fact, I must really commend, goes a step further, namely working on an economic recovery plan with putting health as a top political priority, and also, as was mentioned, working on the second wave. Now, this is one of the most frequently asked questions. When and if there will be a second wave? First and foremost, as one of the colleagues mentioned, we see peaks within the first wave, because the second wave is when the cases really go very, very down and there is a second wave, but we're still in the first wave in many countries. We anticipate that the situation will further calm down in majority of the countries over the summer, but we have indeed to prepare for the fall, when the COVID may meet seasonal influenza, pneumonia, other diseases as well, because ultimately the virus is still actively circulating in our communities and there is no effective treatment yet, no effective vaccine yet, and hence why it's so important that we are not complacent and engaging the community. And if there are issues with adherence to restrictive public health measures, to try to find out what is it that creates a fatigue to adhering to the public health measures, and then go very targeted to those population groups. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And a follow-up question from Tanta Ugashvili with Fortuna Online Media in Georgia for you, Katie. And it regards public transport. What are the rules? How to travel by bus or by metro? There are so many people on the bus that we can't keep the social distancing. How will WHO's, or what will WHO's recommendations be in this case? Katie.
Thank you very much for the question. And indeed, the rules that should be followed are of course, those that are requested or required by the government, and in this case, the government of Georgia. As I understand, different countries are taking different measures and putting in place different rules for the use of public transport. Many of these mean that public transport is less congested than it otherwise would normally be. And this is to be able to maintain at least the 1 meter physical distancing that WHO recommends on these types of transport. Where that's not possible, of course, WHO recommends the use of fabric masks or masks by the population in areas where there is community transmission. And as I understand, in Georgia, there is a requirement for people to adopt the use of masks on public transport. So that is in line with WHO's recommendations. But just a reminder that the use of masks is not the be-all and end-all, so that when people are traveling on public transport, they should still maintain distance as much as they can, at least 1 meter from other people, wash your hands regularly, and maintain respiratory etiquette and while you're using public transport. So thank you.
Thanks very much, Katie. Right, and we are in previous weeks we've had a number of questions related to WHO's work in support of the countries and the missions to the countries to support them in responding to the pandemic. So we've invited Michel Thierren to join us today for this press briefing. Michel's joining us in transit in a busy airport on his way back home. But Michel, I'm hoping you can hear us. And I would ask you maybe just to say a little bit about the nature of the mission that you've just been on, and maybe reflect on some of the findings and your with some insight. Michel, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, but it looks like I cannot be on visual. Good afternoon, morning to all, and indeed I'm on my way back from Yerevan, where I spent about a week to look at a situation that is a little bit singular in the region, which is a kind of a curve that is much more swollen, for which the peak is in sight but haven't been reached yet. And therefore, with a kind of concerns raised by the government legitimately. So we assemble a team of technical people in a number of areas, but But the singularity of this mission, perhaps, is that we immediately reached out with all the other sectors and the partners. Why we did that? Because obviously the concern that all countries at some point face is whether a second lockdown needs to be considered. And the assumption we have taken during the mission is to say, look, we have enormous amount of knowledge now accumulated for the past few months on what works on health intervention, but also what works and doesn't on social distancing or societal distancing, on those big measures. And we are now developing a package of measures that is very contextualized for Armenia, taking the position that the country can still have a virus but still have an economy. Of course, not a full-run economy, but we make the assumption that we are in a position, despite the kind of non-friendly looking epi curve there, that we can work out that equation and zoom out completely from the dilemma livelihood versus lives, economy versus health, and so for health, etc. I mean, all this health, non-health dilemma. We are now in June, almost July 2020. As I said, we have a wealth of practices, knowledge from other countries, and we can put a package like this into motion. But that doesn't say that there are preconditions and always some non-negotiable, no-give-in measures, and they were just quoted. The absolute importance and precondition for a customized package is the testing, the tracing, the isolation, the physical distancing. Certainly in a country where enforcement and compliance is a bit complicated, like in Armenia, a more laxist recommendation on the public wearing of masks and measures like this, a vast program of marking the floors, the sidewalks, the public places for queuing, which is not only a measure of protection, but also a communication measure. We have to see in the city that is not business as usual. At the moment in Yerevan, we don't see that much. Not much messages, not much marks, and so forth. So we were very well received by the Minister of Health. We were even received by the Prime Minister to provide that reassuring message and to say, look, we're going to work out something that is not going to damage the population. We are there. Prediction in Armenia, the situation is critical. The curve is ascending. But when I visited hospitals and labs, the health systems operates at its critical limits, but is going to go through with an intense support from the EMT, from the partners, and also because the government is extremely mobilized and concerned, and the response is going to scale up within days. I'm ready for any specific question, and I'll leave it there.
Thanks very much, Michel. So thanks for that reflection, and thanks very much for leading that mission out in Armenia. So we're going to move over now to Interpress News and to Salo Abulashvili.
Hello.
Salo. Hello.
Nice to meet you again.
Welcome back.
I would like to ask today about Georgian occupied territories, and my question will be, you know that Georgian central authorities hasn't access in the occupied territories, so we don't know the numbers of transmission and the situation due to COVID pandemic. Maybe in WHO have more information about that. Maybe you have some access on occupied territories, and you know more specifically what is happening in order to the COVID-19 in Georgian occupied territories. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Salo. Thanks for the question. Katie, can I ask you to shed some light on that?
Thank you. And WHO works with a range of partners and agencies that are both present in and working in South Ossetia and Abkhazia. And we have been working closely with other UN agencies in understanding the situation, the COVID-19 situation in those areas, as well as working with very closely with the government of Georgia in the rest of Georgia. So we do follow the situation. We are working with partners both at the international level and on the ground. We continue to monitor cases as they occur in those areas, and we provide support consistently as we would to other areas that are considered contested or disputed in the European region. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Katie. And we next have a question for the Regional Director from ERT in Greece. Do you think that Greece presents a safe and healthy image for tourists? Regional Director.
Thank you. And Kalimera, Greece is a country like the other ones that we have been working very closely and very, very impressed by the results. In fact, the Greek government, the Prime Minister Mitsotakis himself took very early on very courageous measures to implement restrictions in line with public health recommendations, and this had its effect together with a lot of attention to the intensive care capacity in the hospitals, and then again the core of any strategy to decrease the COVID, the finding, isolating, testing capacities. And we are in regular touch with both Minister Vasilis Kikilias, with Vice Minister Vasilis Kontouzomanis. Also, I know that the Prime Minister Mitsotakis appointed a special envoy, Professor Elias Mosialos, on the COVID-19, and this all had its results, and first and foremost, of course, by the Greek population. Now, indeed, there is a gradual easing of the measures, but it's being done, what we recommend, carefully and gradually, like, for example, the one-by-one opening of the airports. And I would like to stress that it's not health against the economy. For a Mediterranean country like Greece, it's very important, the tourism, and to accommodate those, as long as the public health measures are being put in place. And the Greek authorities themselves realize also some challenges in more remote islands where this capacity may be a little bit in the need to be strengthened. But the core is what the Prime Minister was telling, that his ambition is not for Greece to be the #1 destination for tourism, but be the most safe one. And that's something that we really would like to encourage, and we stand ready to further to work together.
Thank you very much, Regional Director. Right, so next we'll go over to Tom Magna. Tom, welcome back in Kara's World.
Thank you very much indeed. Can you hear me okay? I just want to check that.
We can. Please go ahead.
Excellent. Your message this morning is very much, it seems to me, that for digital to succeed, there must be public trust. Can I perhaps put an example which I think may be occurring in other countries? In the UK, we have the Welsh government who are very cautiously approaching easing of lockdown. And in England, it seems we have a government who are throwing caution to the wind because of business concerns. How can the public have trust in digital when politicians appear to make claims about technology that can't actually be backed up?
Okay. On that, so Tom, thanks very much for the question. I think there's a couple of people, so Clayton and Katie. There's different elements of that question, so I think we'll go to Clayton first and then over to Katie.
Thanks, Rob, and thank you very much for the question. So the first aspect really is in populations having trust. The biggest factor involved here is essentially one's own personal literacy of using digital tools. And that really is a key factor in the ability for an individual, irrespective of any political circumstances, to be able to make a personal choice of whether or not they feel comfortable or not with using a tool that might be provided by a national entity. Now, in the majority of cases, what we're actually finding, and this is very relevant in the UK, that it's the health authorities with the public health mandate that are actually putting forward the solutions that are delivering or reaching out to deliver a public health utility for populations. So, and what they're actually doing by doing this is trying, literally, as is being advised by WHO, every tool in the toolbox in order to assist with preventing the transmission of COVID-19. So really the first aspect is it comes down to an individual's own literacy and trust in the solutions that are being provided. The second component really is to look very carefully at the consent requirements around any particular tool that might be offered. So when tools are offered in order to be taken up by public, there will be consent that is applied. And it's important that individuals do read that consent and understand what the ramifications for their own personal privacy and the privacy of their data are. With those two aspects in mind, then over time, an individual will be very likely to understand and be able to navigate through the digital tools that are available and make conscious choices as to whether they will or will not adopt those tools in protecting themselves and those of their family. And that's really the best approach that we can hope for.
Katie, please.
Thank you. And in addition to what Clayton described, when we're expecting individuals across communities to take actions based on their own self-will and voluntarily, we need to gain trust. And so the trust of the community is one of the linchpins of our overall response to COVID-19, both in terms of digital tools, as Clayton has just described. If we expect people to use them, we may as well be sure that we provide them with a tool that they trust. So absolutely essential. It's a very good question. In broader terms, the same applies. So as societies begin to reopen and measures begin to be lifted, and we still ask of communities to take certain actions, we need to ensure that they trust that what we're asking them to do is the right thing. And there, communities need to really be at front and center and in constant dialogue with authorities, both at the government level, but also at the local authority level. That doesn't mean that things need to happen at the same speed everywhere, and that's where the different contexts, the different moods of communities and the populations and the different perceptions and behaviors will need to be taken into account. So certainly trust is essential, but it doesn't necessarily mean there's a one-size-fits-all response to COVID-19. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, Katie, and thanks for the question, Tom. We're going to go across next to the UN brief to Maya Plence. Maya, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you very much for taking my question. Our question is related to privacy by design, contract tracing applications that perhaps the WHO Europe has already had the chance to review. Which applications do you think are working and why? And what are the challenges on developing applications that can actually be adopted, that people don't fear for their privacy, that their data is not going to be taken in another way other than by healthcare providers?
Okay, Clayton, over to you. Did you get that question?
I did, thanks very much. And thanks, Maya, for the question. I think it's an extremely relevant one. Yes, WHO Europe has been particularly vigilant in examining the different digital contact tracing solutions which have been developed.
Un photographe à 65 ans. Oui, il y a une de la gamine, ouais. Mais officielle. Mais un photographe.
They're good people.
Oui, à l'époque, à la COP, parce que vous faire voir une ça dépend.
Test, 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 audio test. Ceci est un audio test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Mark. Can you hear me, Mark? Can you hear me loud and clear? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ok. 1, 2, 1, 2. Test, 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 test. Audio test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Test, 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 test. Ok. Ok, in the studio? Un, 2, 3, 4, audio test. Audio test, 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 test. Jeudi 25 juin, 11h40. Ceci est un audio test pour la conférence de presse. 1, 2, 3, 4. Est-ce que vous m'entendez dans le studio? 1, 2, 1, 2. Test, 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 test. Test, test, test. Test, 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 test. Lundi, mardi, mercredi, jeudi, vendredi, samedi, dimanche. Est-ce que vous m'entendez? Salut. C'est bon? Merci.
Much more work on walkthrough on Tuesday at the same day.
Audio check. Laissons monter, Alex. Audio check 1, 2, 3 pour nos amis. Bon.
So why don't we
Voilà, l'espace suffisant pour le monsieur qui est assis et la colonne, là. C'est pas terrible non plus.
Test 1, 2.
Oui, t'en as quelques-uns. De temps en temps, t'as un héros.
2, 3 test. Now you got it. Thanks. 1, 2. This is a microphone test. 1, 2. 1, 2.
Watch the Zoom conference. Does that work? Yes. The one that was very, the thing is that we're not only in America, but the Zoom, I think all the water. That's it. German speaking myself. Willst du Deutsch sprechen, oder?
I can put it at the top. Okay. That's true, I had to.
First, another question, or you have two amounts of one after the only reason I came
Good questions, I'm open. I only had two very.
The only reason I came was
Are we on? Is this on? Yes, it is. Let me give you a heads up before we go start here. So they're having a quick 3 lateral meetings still now in the room. I'm being told we have a hard stop at 12:30 because they will have to chair the meeting in the executive boardroom, the mission briefing, which is the briefing which is happening every week. So we'll go through the 3 statements by the DG, of course, then Minister Spahn and Minister Veran afterwards. And then I hope we get at least 2 questions in. That's what the minimum would be. And I will have to ask the national representatives of the agencies here for that. And if we have more time, we'll take more questions, but we'll see. Right? And we'll send out the DG statement afterwards. I'll leave it up to the missions to send out their individual statements. But we'll send out the DG statement and, of course, the sound files afterwards. Okay? Thank you for now.
The DG stick around after. The DG stick around, he does the mission. All 3 want to do it. Sorry, I'm moving in German. The German will speak English. I don't know.
Okay, good morning. First of all, I would like to welcome honorable ministers. We had a very productive discussion, and this is actually the first visit after the lockdown. As you know, the situation in Western Europe is improving. Of course, in the rest of the world, the pandemic is on the increase. And we discussed about the situation of the pandemic globally and on issues of what should be done. But I would be happy to give, and both Germany and France came to show their support. And I would first give the floor to His Excellency, and then we will proceed. Please.
I'm going to talk in French. Sorry for that. Dear Dr. Tedros, dear Jens Spahn, je suis venu ici pour représenter la France à Genève, au siège de l'Organisation mondiale de la santé, en présence de mon homologue allemand Jens Spahn et en présence du Dr Tedros, pour réaffirmer le soutien de la France et du couple franco-allemand au fonctionnement de l'Organisation mondiale de la santé, dans ce qu'elle représente de structure multilatérale, mondiale, globale, un outil indispensable dans la lutte contre l'évolution des maladies et notamment, nous le voyons dans la période, contre les maladies infectieuses. Le rôle majeur de l'OMS induit aussi un travail que les États conduisent de leur côté d'évaluation du mode de fonctionnement de la structure, avec un gros travail sur la transparence dans l'accès aux données, au fonctionnement général. Et je suis venu redire la confiance de la France dans la capacité de l'Organisation mondiale de la santé à faire face à ces risques sanitaires émergents et à conduire ce travail d'évaluation pour aller vers le mieux. Je suis venu également annoncer un renforcement de la contribution française au fonctionnement de l'OMS, avec d'abord 90 millions d'euros qui seront utilisés dans le cadre de la construction de cette magnifique académie OMS à Lyon, pas très loin de Genève, et qui porte en elle ce beau projet de la coopération internationale en matière de recherche, recherche appliquée, recherche fondamentale, et qui sera amené à former de très nombreux scientifiques, aujourd'hui et demain, pour renforcer la coopération internationale. Et nous le voyons avec la crise du Covid-19, cette coopération est plus indispensable que jamais. Par ailleurs, 100 millions de masques seront donnés par la France à l'OMS pour protéger les populations les plus fragiles. Et enfin, la France renforce sa contribution financière. Le président de la République, Emmanuel Macron, l'annonce à hauteur de 50 millions d'euros, en plus des crédits de fonctionnement auxquels la France contribue habituellement. L'autre message que je suis venu porter, c'est un message pour lequel le président de la République française insiste beaucoup, c'est dans le cadre de la démarche qu'on appelle ACTA, la démarche d'accélération, et notamment cet enjeu du bien public mondial. À l'heure où de nombreux laboratoires dans le monde sont en train de développer de la recherche et où les premiers vaccins arriveront, nous l'espérons, dans les prochains mois, la France insiste beaucoup pour que ce vaccin soit accessible à tous, à ceux qui peuvent payer et à ceux qui ne le peuvent pas. Cette démarche de coopération internationale doit être renforcée par l'intervention de l'Organisation mondiale de la santé. Ce sont les principaux messages que je suis venu porter au cours des échanges que nous avons eus avec le docteur Tedros, que je remercie pour son accueil. C'était mon premier déplacement ici à l'OMS et je crois que le symbole du déplacement du couple franco-allemand est un symbole important dans la période.
Merci beaucoup. I think I will need translation. And now, Minister Spahn.
Dear Director General Tedros, dear colleague Veran, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure for me to speak during the WHO Member States Information Session today. Thank you again, Director General, for the invitation. Germany has the honor to host the EU Council presidency for the next half a year. Global health and the support of the WHO is a key theme during the current pandemic. This is why I have come to Geneva in order to discuss our EU presidency plans and ways to further support WHO at this critical moment in time. Together with my colleague and friend, the French Health Minister Olivier Veran, I had very promising discussions with Director General Tedros. Germany remains a strong supporter and a friend, sometimes a critical friend, but a strong friend of the WHO. The still ongoing pandemic shows that an interconnected world needs global-level crisis management. We need a strong, efficient, transparent and accountable WHO today more than ever. A WHO that is able to lead and coordinate the response of global health crisis. Germany will do its part to give the WHO the political, financial and technical backing that is needed. This comes with the clear expectation that remaining challenges are adequately addressed and needed reforms are pushed forward in order to strengthen the emergency programme as well as WHO's work under the International Health Regulation. Germany is a strong partner and supporter of this responsive WHO, and we very much appreciate the steps Director General Tedros already has taken and the initiatives that are planned. Therefore, it is a pleasure for me to announce that we, as the Federal Republic of Germany, are supporting WHO with additional 41 million euros for its core mandate until 2023. Additional to this, we are providing additional 25 million euros for the implementation of the Strategic Preparedness Response Plan. And due to the still remaining major funding gap to implement the Strategic Preparedness Response Plan, until the end of this year, the German government has decided to provide additional 200 million euros to WHO on top of the 110 million euros for the WHO, which we have already pledged during the vaccination summit in Brussels in May. This funding still needs approval by Parliament, but we are very confident that Parliament will release this start of July. And we understand that besides money, also medical equipment is needed in many parts of the world. Therefore, we want to offer WHO medical masks and medical equipment, including ventilators, for distribution to countries in need. Including this medical equipment, the German Ministry of Health will be providing more than 500 million, more than €500 million to WHO this year. This is the highest amount ever that we have contributed to the WHO in 1 year. This is a clear sign for our dedication to the work of WHO. Our common message should be today: we are standing together fighting global health problems. We are convinced in a pandemic you have to react on national level, but you have to coordinate the reaction internationally and with all partners around you and on the world. Isolated national answers to international problems are doomed to fail.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Minister Spahn. Thank you, Minister Veran. WHO is really honored to welcome you both here today, and we offer our sincere thanks for your expression of solidarity and support. We're getting today all the support we need, political and financial, as has been said, and I would like to express my gratitude. And thank you so much for all that support. Both Germany and France are long-standing friends of WHO and global health, both individually and as members of the European Union. For more than 50 years, France has hosted the International Agency of Research on Cancer in Lyon. And last year, I was honored to sign an agreement with President Emmanuel Macron to establish the new WHO Academy in the same city. Likewise, Chancellor Angela Merkel has been a champion of global health, becoming the first world leader to address the World Health Assembly in 2015. But not only that, the first leader also to invite WHO in 2017 when Germany was hosting the G20, understanding the importance of health and the centrality of health. Germany was also instrumental in the development of the Global Action Plan for Healthy Lives and Well-being for All, bringing the global health community together to drive progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals. Today, we're deepening that friendship. WHO is a member state organization, a family of nations. WHO is what its member states decide it should be, and works with the resources its member states decide it should have. Since I took office 3 years ago, WHO has embarked on the most significant transformation in its history. Our aim has been to transform WHO into the organization the world needs, an organization that delivers results for the people we serve. Every day, WHO works all around the world to promote health, keep the world safe, and serve the vulnerable. Every month, we detect and respond to more than 7,000 public health events and potential emergencies all over the world. The COVID-19 pandemic is a once-in-a-century event that has shown the world was not as prepared as it should have been. We must all learn the lessons it's teaching us, that we are one humanity and none of us are safe until all of us are safe. And next week, Germany will assume the presidency of the Council of the European Union. This is a critical period for Europe, for the world, and for WHO. Now more than ever, the world needs leadership. Now more than ever, the world needs international cooperation. Once again, I offer my profound thanks to France and Germany for your leadership and support. Vielen Vielen Dank. Merci beaucoup. And thank you. Thank you very much.
Very much, honorable ministers and Director General. We'll have now time for 2 questions as announced. We'll take Agence France Presse first, please.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. Nina Larson from AFP. So I just wanted to say to both ministers, you've announced a lot of support and funding to WHO today. I'm wondering how far this goes to actually filling the hole left by the U.S. withdrawal, if you could answer that, and if you also have some comment on whether the EU is planning on blocking travel from the U.S. and Brazil, perhaps. Thank you.
Can I ask Minister Veran, perhaps, first?
Sorry? Shall I?
Minister Spahn?
Shall I take this one? So first of all, the biggest amount of the funding I just announced goes to the strategic preparedness response plans, so actually addressing COVID-19 and to help especially countries highly affected right now and that need support, perhaps even more support than we would have needed here in Europe regarding the health system and the possibility to answer to this crisis. So that is, first of all, where we want to do more and where we want to increase our funding. But of course, we have to discuss within WHO and with the other member states and with the US how we actually will work and deal with possible changes. So far, it's not sure what's about to happen to the funding there. The US have always been a very big and very much appreciated contributor to the WHO. They have shaped many of the programs, by the way, many programs in Europe too, and in the Euro region of WHO. And so actually we still want to be in touch with them and discussing with them how we can go on together within the WHO. Regarding traveling to Europe and the European Union, that is an ongoing process of negotiating and consultation within the European Union and of member states. And since it is ongoing, I can't tell you the result yet.
You quickly to repeat the question in short words for the Minister Veran.
En français? Ok. Je suis anglophone, mais bon, voilà. Attendez, excusez-moi. Alors, je voulais savoir les contributions que vous avez annoncées ici aujourd'hui. Ils vont aller jusqu'où pour remplir le trou qui est laissé par la sortie des États-Unis pour l'OMS. Et aussi, j'ai posé la question sur les discussions à l'UE, à l'intérieur de l'UE, sur un éventuellement blocage des voyageurs des États-Unis et du Brésil, et si ça serait justifié. Merci.
Et c'était Nina Larson, Agence France Presse.
Sorry for the confusion. I hope I will do the same answer than Jens. It would be better. I will do it in French. La contribution française n'a pas pour objet de remplacer la contribution américaine. La contribution française, elle est là pour rappeler à l'Organisation mondiale de la santé qu'elle peut compter sur l'amitié de l'Union européenne et du couple franco-allemand. Une amitié qui est exigeante, puisque nous demandons et nous participons avec l'Organisation mondiale de la santé à la démarche d'évaluation que l'OMS a initiée, de manière à apporter toutes les réponses en transparence à la population mondiale sur le fonctionnement de l'organisation, sur les partenariats, sur le partage de données, sur comment est-ce qu'on peut faire évoluer la structure face aux risques émergents et notamment face aux épidémies. Nous l'avons vu avec cette crise de la Covid-19. Donc, transparence, soutien, amitié. Moi, je crois profondément que le monde a besoin plus que jamais d'une organisation mondiale, globale, multilatérale. Je crois que nous ne pouvons pas nous payer le luxe de nous séparer de partenaires. Fut-il en ce moment interrogateur sur le fonctionnement de la structure. Je crois profondément, encore une fois, que nous avons besoin d'une réponse mondiale et que seule l'OMS est capable de l'apporter. Sur la deuxième question que vous posiez, nous protégeons la santé des habitants en France, dans l'Union européenne, en Allemagne, et nous faisons en sorte que les règles que nous pouvons imposer à nos propres populations soient cohérentes avec les règles que nous imposons à celles et ceux qui viennent de pays dans lesquels le virus circule peut-être de façon plus importante que chez nous. Il n'y a pas de volonté d'ostraciser ou d'empêcher quiconque de venir en France. La France est une terre d'accueil, l'Europe est une terre d'accueil. Par contre, il y a des mesures de précaution qui sont importantes. Nous avons rouvert les frontières européennes, et c'est tant mieux. Bientôt, il y aura une réouverture de frontières hors de l'espace Schengen, mais nous avons à cœur de protéger la sécurité et la santé des Européens et des Français. C'est pourquoi nous regarderons situation par situation, en fonction de l'évolution de la circulation du virus, des mesures qui sont mises en place par les pays pour freiner la diffusion du virus, en cohérence, encore une fois, avec nous-mêmes et les demandes que nous avons en direction de nos propres populations.
Thank you very much. And we have a second question now from German television, ARD. Wolfgang Warner.
Question concerning the vaccine. France, Germany is investing a lot in possible vaccine. And how will you ensure that really everyone on this planet will benefit of this vaccine, or it's just for your own purpose or purpose of the European Union, for example?
Well, that's obviously there's very much hope related to this research for vaccines, and we have several promising candidates of different research groups or companies. And what we want to make sure from the beginning is that there is access to vaccination for the whole world, for all people on the world, and that is why we are very much committed as Germany, together with France, as a European Union, to support financially and technically all the international initiatives like Gavi, CEPI, the ACT of the WHO, actually in developing such vaccines and in supporting all those who are doing research. And that is a strong commitment, a commitment that is underlined with actually many, many millions of euros, and that actually shows that it is not just saying that we want to make it happen from the very beginning of the founding or finding of a new vaccine, but we want really it to happen, that there is equitable access from the beginning for the whole world. And this might be for the first time the case. And it might be, from today's point of view, with what we see, one of the shortest development times for a vaccine in history. But at the same time, you have to say that developing a vaccine always can still fail. So we really do see promising candidates. We are supporting it. We are supporting equitable access from the beginning, and it would be a big relief for all of us and the whole world if there was a vaccine. And so by all this, you can see we are very much committed, and of course committed to make sure that we have vaccines for the whole world, which means Europe, but the rest of the world too.
Further comments? I'm being told.
Just 3 words to answer to this question. Global public good. Global public good. Very important for the President Macron too, who promotes this concept, which has to become a fact, and we have to work hard with pharmaceutical companies to reach this point, this objective. Global public good.
Thank you very much, Honourable Ministers, Director General. This concludes our briefing. Thank you all for attending, and I thank you all, and good luck at the mission briefing now. Thank you.